Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Cheryl. I'm a psychiatrist here to help you understand your mental health at the deepest level so that you can get to the root cause of your pain and suffering. Today, I'm going to be talking about the IFS therapy model. IFS provides an effective and evidence-based process for healing trauma through connecting with your true authentic self. It also provides us with a map for understanding the human psyche. This map can help you to understand and navigate your consciousness or your inner world. IFS stands for Internal Family Systems. And this means that we all have an inner family of parts that make up who we are as a person. The more trauma a person experiences in their life, the more fragmented these parts become. So that means there's a lot of inner conflict that develops between your parts. This leads to a lot of tension and gets us really far away from that feeling of inner peace and harmony that we're all seeking. There's two different types of parts. The first type of parts are called exiles. So these exiles are our most vulnerable and wounded inner children. They carry our deepest trauma. When we experience something in our life that overwhelms our capacity to cope with it, we internalize trauma in the form of physical sensations. So this gets stuck in your nervous system, in the form of emotions like shame, fear, sadness, or loneliness. And in our belief system, through limiting beliefs like, I'm unworthy, I'm bad, no one will ever love me, the world is an unsafe place, I've always been alone, I'll always be alone, things like that. These are reflecting our underlying trauma and the beliefs and burdens held by these exiles. So we call these parts exiles because the pain that they carry in the form of these burdens is so painful that it gets repressed into our subconscious. So the exiles live in our proverbial inner basement. We're sort of cut off from them until they get triggered and their painful emotions come up and overwhelm us with overwhelming sadness or anxiety or panic attacks and things like that. Second type of parts are called protectors. So when we internalize this trauma, other parts of us have to take on these protective roles to try to prevent that pain from getting triggered so that we don't get overwhelmed by it. There's two types of protectors as well. The parts that are more proactive and focused on control, we call them managers because they're trying to manage our pain by preventing it from being triggered. They do our planning. They can be perfectionistic. They can be high achieving. They can be helping, caretaking. They can be judgmental and critical. These parts take on these roles because they feel compelled to do so in order to prevent our pain from being triggered. And the more trauma we have, the more controlling these manager parts can become. They try to control what's happening inside of us, and they also try to control what's happening in our outer world. So they can become kind of rigid. People with really controlling managers might be diagnosed with certain mental health conditions like generalized anxiety disorder or obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. The second type of protectors we call firefighters. So these parts are more reactive. They come in to try to put out the emotional fire once our trauma has been triggered. These parts can be more impulsive. And while they are trying to help, sometimes their strategies can be more destructive and actually wreak havoc in our lives. A very common type of firefighter is addictions, parts that are using substances, gambling, sex addiction. These are all different strategies that our firefighters can take on to try to soothe that overwhelming emotional pain. Self-harm and suicide, trying to find ways to escape this emotional pain. Dissociation, distraction, mindless scrolling. These are all different firefighter strategies. It's really important to know that these parts all have a positive intention. They're trying to help us to not be overwhelmed by our pain. So while they have a positive intention, sometimes the impact they have on our own lives or on the lives of people around us can be negative or harmful. But that isn't, in fact, their intention. Now that we understand exiles and protectors, we can return to IFS as a therapy process. Beneath all of these traumatized parts, every single person in the world has what's called self. Capital S self. It's who you are at your core. It's your authentic nature. And it has these really amazing qualities like compassion, curiosity, calm, connectedness, confidence, courage, clarity, creativity, playfulness, fun. All of these innate qualities that we're born with and that we have inside of us, but they're sort of blocked by these parts and the trauma that they're carrying. An IFS therapist really acts as a guide that helps you to connect with your compassion, curiosity, and bring those feelings and that energy towards these traumatized parts. IFS is a relational model, so it's about coming into relationship with yourself and getting to know these parts. IFS isn't a talk therapy. It's really a process where the therapist is serving as a guide to help you come into relationship with yourself, so you can get to know these protectors and why they're acting the way that they're acting. Once you come into relationship with your protectors and they begin to trust you as self, they give you permission to go towards your exiles and to witness the painful experiences that led to this trauma being taken on in the first place. So it's really important in trauma processing to understand that there are protectors in your system and that they need to give permission before going towards witnessing this trauma. In some other therapeutic modalities, when they bypass protectors, this can result in a lot of backlash in your system and feeling terrible for several days after therapy sessions, when that really shouldn't be happening if we get appropriate permission. Once you get permission, self can go towards these exiles, witness them in their pain and suffering, and be with them in a way that they needed and didn't get when that initial event happened. Once these parts feel fully witnessed, they're free to unburden these traumatic burdens of the emotions, of the physiological imprint, of the beliefs. And once they do this, you notice really big shifts. The things that used to trigger these exiled parts no longer trigger them. And you have more access to your true authentic nature, to your confidence, your calm, your compassion, your curiosity, and who you really are at your core. That's internal family systems therapy. I found it to be very effective for me personally, very effective to support my patients in healing their mental health from the root cause. IFS has actually been around for just over 40 years. It was founded by Dr. Richard Schwartz. And it seems to be gaining in popularity, I think, as people really understand how effective this process is for getting to know your true self and for healing your trauma. IFS is also one of the main modalities being used in conjunction with psychedelic-assisted therapy. Right now, I'm at the beautiful Columbia River Gorge on my way to Portland, Oregon, where I'm going to be assisting with an IFS training for psychedelic practitioners. So IFS therapy, with or without psychedelic-assisted therapy, combined with it, can be really effective for helping you to get to the root cause of your pain and suffering in order to heal yourself and resolve your trauma. I hope that this has been helpful. I'm going to share some resources below, including links to find an IFS therapist in your local area or online if you're interested in taking a deeper dive into IFS. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And thanks for listening.